And we should be live. Sorry, were you going to say something, Alex?
I'm not the one who said something.
Oh, okay.
No.
Right. Okay, not Irby. Yeah, so we are going to be talking about the evolutions that released for this past spring campaign, as well as during the last event. Joining me today is Zalgus.
Hang on, I'm eating. Hello.
Who just woke up and is quickly doing something he should have done sooner. Also joining me today is Irby.
Hello.
Nice to see you, Irby. Yeah, let's hop right in and get this show on the road. Oh, right. But just not up. So we're going to be starting off with the topic of Tsathoggua. This is going to be covered by Zalgus, so go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay. Right. So, Saf's Evo is to his Captivating Corruptor skill. Onto the base effects, they added a 20% to the charm rate for a 60% in total. This is, of course, nice. Charm is a disabling effect as usual, but Saf will be tanking damage and getting hit, so, you know, he'll reasonably be able to actually try and proc it. Although I do find it funny that his old Evo had actually put a band-aid onto the charm with the taunt strengthening, which was a 60% rate boost while he has taunt. Anyway, at 60% rate, which it now is, it's still not guaranteeable with so the taunt strengthening still has some use at least, since the taunt strengthening will just jack it up to 100% rate anyway. The Tenacity Mecha Man rather is still the same, because Mecha Man, for some reason, I don't know why they have some obsession with Tenacity at 60% when hit. It's terrible, but sure, I guess. And his regen got a slight increase to the rate, and also applies to allies. Sath already sustained allies by giving them flat HP, so having more sustain to allies never hurts. And now the new effects are, when missing, remove debuff. Once again, Sath is going to be tanking, so removing a debuff every turn is nice. 80% rate is kind of meh, since he'll need a boost from somewhere else, some glint or concentration or something to guarantee it, but it's good enough. And the unique status he gives is a phase start board-wide charm weakness. It's 2 times damage taken while enemies are charmed for 5 turns. It's fine, a board-wide affliction. Sath can inflict charm at an okay rate, or you could just bring someone else who could also charm instead, but overall it's not incredible, but it does at least build onto Sath's base kit at least. Pardon me. So yeah, he has a higher charm rate, and he has better sustain and tanking, and the charm weakness for a bit of team damage support. So gives him kind of a little bit of everything. We've had plenty worse of Evos, like particularly the ones that are like completely unsynergistic with their base kit, but this one isn't like that amazing, but it's usable, I guess.
Thanks for the brief summary of that. Surprisingly brief. Yeah, his roles have mostly not changed, and he's just a better tank now in terms of, it was kind of annoying using him for what he was designed for, to tank when his defense was kind of shit before, and he was only like particularly useful when he got his charge to get that guaranteed evasion going, which in itself wasn't that useful also. So just improving his default tanking stuff that isn't dependent on that is you know, obviously a lot better in terms of making him usable for the rest of his kit too, so he doesn't just die instantly before he can make some magic happen. He's still not great, but the board-wide conditional amp does have potential to be more useful as more units come out that can accessibly inflict charm. Right now, there's still not really that many units that can do that, so it's still not, even though it is a pretty meaty amp and it's guaranteed, it's not really exploitable that well right now, so maybe in the future.
I really wish they improved the rate of his Mecha Man. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, I think this is the second time they could have done something about his tanking, and it doesn't really feel like they did anything here at all regarding it. Like, yes, it improves his usability, but I don't know, it feels like they never add what Sath actually needs to his kid, which is pretty bizarre. Outside of the remove debuff, I guess. I think he could have used a more permanent defense buff for himself, but not just 60% tenacity.
Yeah.
But oh well.
There's a few units in this batch that got like guts added to their kit on arrival or a face start or whatever. And Saz could have definitely used something like that. Instead, he has the chance to just pop instantly and not get any other of his effects going on, which is quite sad for a dedicated tank unit you're bringing. And there's no other way around it other than just bringing another tank, which is like, why? But yeah, it's something at least. It's, if you know for a fact they're not going to kill him in one hit, then maybe it'll work out in the long term, turn 2 and onward. And, that board white amp might come in healthy. But he's kind of like one of your last choices you'll ever pick if you're looking for a dedicated tank because of his inability to really protect himself on that first turn.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they gave like even 70% on the charm and tenacity would have been a lot better, because 70 is in the range that makes it a lot easier to max out the rate, because we have units like Qinglong to give concentration and glint and whatnot. So I don't know, it just bugs me that they keep doing 60% and it's awful.
Especially when you have units like Sashiko or Gongli that can give protection guaranteed without needing to be hit.
Just use Smoky God.
No. Awful. The sad thing is, even with Smoky God, the stupid evasion thing isn't guaranteed. The rate is just that bad. And it still doesn't even protect himself, right? It just protects his allies, so it's...
Yes. Oh god. Oh well.
Okay, he's not good. We'll move on. So the next topic is going to be Nyarlathotep. I will be covering this. Let me just switch the picture.
I will not be reading the comments.
There's not really any comments right now.
We can read them. What's it called? I'll just tell you when it's a good time to read it out. Okay. So, what's it called? Hold on, let's pull these close. So we are going to be talking about Nyarlathotep briefly. His evolution has a few changes. He now inflicts buff reversal when he's hit at an 80% rate, and he also had what we'll be seeing a lot more often at what we saw before with the Z's Evo, which is these pseudo charge skill Evos where they get an effect at 100 CP. And now at 100 CP he can get he can get crit plus at move phase end. Which means his charge will be super strong, and even if he doesn't have his charge, he'll still be super strong, as long as his meter's full. But other than that, he has this unique effect where he inflicts a debuff on, what's it called? I think it's the units he hits, at 90% rate, and what this effect does is if it's coupled with fear, then the unit's activation rates will drop by a flat amount of 50% its normal rate. So that's pretty significant. It's the largest activation rate drop we have in the game right now besides Mephistopheles' thing. He still does his other thing, which I'll just go briefly over, but to go over his rules right now, he is a disruptor, and that feature for him has been improved. So we know he does some punishing as a damage disruptor. Whenever he's hit, he inflicts both dazzle and now buff reversal as well. So he still needs to take that hit, but he is able to tank a bit of it, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, he also disrupts the rate of enemies because he is able to inflict that fear-dependent activation rate drop. He can inflict fear when he's hit as well as on charge. And he is also a move disruptor, which, on fear, or rather, whenever he's hit or he charges, he inflicts fear, but also he prevents them from moving forward with his madness effect, which we can talk about a bit. Sorry, I'm just kind of going over through the existing part of his skits. A lot of it is untouched, but yeah. to iterate, he's still a damage dealer. He's not the most reliable one, but he has limit at 80%. He has advantage on Sphere, which I talked about how you inflict, and he has he makes units that have Madness take extra damage, and that's every time he moves, and it's just for the 3 times 3 blocks ahead of him. And he deals extra damage to Madness. And how is Madness actually inflicted? Well, he inflicts a status that acts as a skill, where when the enemies are hit, they will instead, or they will have a 50% chance, a coin flip, of self-inflicting Madness. And yeah, he also, as I said, has buff reversal. While he has no way of activating that, if it is active, then he'll deal even more damage. And he still has that plus, and that damage potential altogether gets up to 10,000 damage if it's just limit and Madness advantage with Madness weakening. If it's with his other effects, the Fear advantage and buff reversal being activated, it goes up to just under 40,000 damage per square. On his charge, if he gets limit or plus Madness advantage and weakening and Fear advantage, that's 230,000 damage per square, which is actually really impressive. And that goes up to 580,000 damage per square if he has buff reversal activated. So he's like almost the boss killer at magic range, which is pretty impressive. The flip side is a lot of his effects aren't super reliable to get up. But yeah, other than that, he is also talking about his unmodified rules, he is a Punisher, as I described before, but as he tanks, he has a couple ways of doing that. He has evasion to himself for every unit he hits. It's pretty low rate, but that means you want to hit more units to get it off. And he also has tenacity every time he's moved. But yeah, that's his overall rule set in this game right now. The recommendations I've written for him are, let's see, because his activation rate down is so unique, there is this skill that is shared by a lot of important bosses in the game, or challenges in the game, where they resist things that lock their skills or lower their activation rate. I don't know if Life Wonders will code for, future-proofing against this particular skill, but if they don't, then this skill, which reduces the activation rate by 50%, can actually break the intended function of how challenges are supposed to work. Granted, it only happens in, base turns 3 and onward, but if you can survive for that long and get Fear off, then it's a pretty potent effect. It's not really something you'll rely on, because it is only 50%, mind you, but if you need the quest itself to start decaying and malfunctioning, then for what reason, if you want it to malfunction, Nyarlathotep might be your guy. Just like that feature, though, he has a lot of strengths, but it's kind of unpredictable when you can use these advantages. His Madness infliction is a coin flip, so if you want to increase the rates of that, you'll just have to have a team with units with larger attack ranges, so they can actually reach them and hit them multiple times. Combo would also help for the same reason. And with regards to evasion, as I said, that's low rate, so you may want to increase his odds using some rate boosters, or bring him to battles with multiple enemies, or battles with densely arranged enemies, which you can bundle together with Boogeyman, Marduk, or Thunderbird's River variant. You can cover for failures of his evasion by bringing healers or more damage mitigation, since he doesn't have anything like Guts. And lastly, he does have buff reversal and dazzle when he's hit, so if it's not always reliable to be hit, if you want to make that more reliable, maybe bring someone with taunt, or maybe bring Gurren Gotch to make all the enemies have all range to hit Nyarlathotep successfully. And as I mentioned before, Nyarlathotep is surprisingly strong if you get all those effects off, so you might consider him as a boss killer, such as for the current missions that are out right now for the April Fool's period. Only out for 24 hours, by the way, guys, so make sure you do them. You do actually get rewards for first-time rewards. But yeah, that's all my thoughts on Nyarlathotep. Guys?
Oh, my mic was off, got that. You said what I was going to say about the skill rate down on bosses. I'm almost certain that they're going to forget to code for Nyarlathotep's Fear skill rate down. So we're going to end up getting some challenge quest where we can break it just by fearing them. And fear, lasts long enough that if you really wanted to, you could just have someone else fear them on turn 1 and then just wait out until turn 3s and onward. But either way, even with all this stuff, Nyarl is unfortunately still kind of squishy until his buff reversal goes off. So, yeah, consider maybe bringing someone who, actually makes him less likely to just blow up when he gets hit. But it's a interesting enough Evo. Skill rate down is kind of a meme with like obstruct and whatnot, but because obstruct and drain, or especially obstruct, don't really do anything else. But fear, on the other hand, is a useful skill or status already. So adding a big skill rate drop onto it is, a nice benefit, unlike the others.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Nyarlathotep's not particularly a best used unit in any case, to be honest, but he still might be a unit you want to remember just because it's like weird. It's not I wouldn't say it's good game design, but it is very thematic for him to just break, how the game is supposed to work. It's like exposing Life Wonder's shitty implementation of effects, which I guess is one way to beat quests.
I guess that is one way to interpret it, because when I first saw that effect, I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. Like, there is no way that Life Wonders should have ever done something like this, but they did it anyways. Like, for the sake of good game balance, something like this should not exist. But, well, we'll see. Because I'm pretty sure with this you can just now wait until turn 3 and then you clear anything, because they'll never remember to give them fear immunity ever to the high difficulty quests. Not that they were difficult to begin with, but still.
Maybe if we send in messages reminding them.
Yes. The threatening messages. Let's go.
Yeah,
with
but
a million suggestions.
It is peculiar just because of that one really stupid effect that can make quests malfunction. I feel like I'll have Nyarlathotep permanently in my mind somewhere. It's unfortunate I don't actually have them, so I'll just have to ask someone to put them up. If for some reason I don't want to just play regularly and I want to say, fuck the mechanics, it's time to roll for 50% and until they forget to do their things. Very dumb, but funny, at least.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can still keep on going before I read out the chat. So, Irby, you can continue on with Dagon now. So we'll just move on to that topic.
Okay. Dagon's skill evolution is for his skill, one who bellows from the dark, and it is honestly practically a non-existent skill evolution. His brawn is now guaranteed. It was raised from 90% to 100%. It's already guaranteeable, but I guess now you don't need to skill seed him to get that damage in. He's always going to have brawn on phase start. And the only two things that they added to his kit was paralysis immunity, which was a very questionable choice. And he now inflicts a status on all allies in the board that has them heal themselves for 1000 HP every 3 turns. These effects don't really synergize all that well with his kit, even though he did have a role as a semi-board disruptor to begin with, by applying curse and mitigating damage through it and controlling the board with fear. This 1000 HP every 3 turns is not something you can actually rely upon. The value isn't really enough to compensate waiting for 3 turns to go off. It can be increased through other means, yes, but it's just not very it's just not going to do much for him. He's not going to change almost anything in the way you're using him. I guess having the paralysis immunity is nice because paralysis is one of the statuses that reduces attack, but you're probably never going to move him. So in terms of being immune to a movement impairment effect, isn't really that impactful for him. It's more so for that to ensure that he can't get his attack down. But yeah, that's pretty much it. All he got is guaranteed brawn to himself and 1000 HP to all allies every 3 turns. Very underwhelming skill evolution. It kind of, honestly, as I've been preparing the notes, kind of like reminds me of the shitty Astarte arousal skill evolution that doesn't really seem to do much at all.
We don't talk about that around here.
But yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts. I think that he would have benefited more with if the healing also applied to himself, because he does have some good solo capabilities, but he doesn't even have that. It's only for allies, so that's pretty questionable choice.
Yeah, I don't know what this Evo is. It's like, I mean, a regen is nice, but not every 3 turns. It's like the equivalent of giving what's a healing buff that does around 300?
Nourishment
Regeneration. Oh,
No.
do they only? I thought nourishment was 150 HP.
No, it's 300.
Okay, so wow, he gives a nourishment to everyone that doesn't give the attack buff. There you go.
Yes.
That's how good this Evo is. Air quotes.
I mean, it's there forever. Can't be denied.
I mean, if I wanted like that kind of sustained stalling, I could have picked literally any other unit than Dagon, because Dagon is not that useful right now.
I mean, apparently Irby and Mo disagrees. It's like he's such an old unit.
That's because they want Dagon cummies.
That's not.
That's a bit
That's
honest.
not true. For farming, yes, he's not very useful, but he does have some pretty good solo capabilities. Like, sure, there are better solo units nowadays, but he still pulls out on his own pretty well. But yeah, he's kind of falling off after all of those newer solo units came out, so it would have been helpful to get him something to help with that, but he didn't get anything. Nor any good supportive capabilities as either. Like a lot of units that gained a lot of different supportive capabilities, attack buffs to allies and a bunch of defensive to allies as well. Just this 1000 HP every 3 turns is the worst thing that they could have possibly given.
It's the best part of the Evo, though. It's the only part you feel.
Because there's nothing else.
It's kind of funny how bad this is. It's like the disappointment from your discussion of it was palpable. Brawn is irrelevant for any Dagon users because everyone who uses Dagon probably already skill seed them, because otherwise why would you use Dagon? So it does nothing in that sense. It's shocking they didn't change the rates of the pull at all, since we have guaranteed board pullers already, and he has to move for his. It's like, okay, sure, whatever.
He doesn't have to move for his, but his
turn start one isn't even
only
guaranteed,
80%.
so it's like, why? That could have been evoed at least. At least. In the paralysis, like, does nothing at all. He only needs to move for the pull, which, as you said, is technically not necessary. And
yeah,
I don't know, it sounds like a lore
because he already auto pulls to begin with. So it's just an extra pull.
Marks everywhere. It is up straight to me. But yeah, it's... You can heal with him, I guess, as you see in this video demonstration. He kind of synergizes with it because he already heals himself and he heals his eyes. And, the heal's not completely out of nowhere just because he already does have damage mitigation effects on top of that, so it adds on itself. It's still not really one of the better options, though, when it comes to healing and tanking. Okay, we'll move on to the last topic of the batch. This is going to be Azathoth, and I'm covering this as well. Alright. So, Azathoth has a fairly small evolution, but unlike Dagon's, the small changes leaves a large impact. So, his evasion has changed from what's called every time he attacks, he has a chance of evasion of 28%. He normally applied that only to himself, but now he can apply it to allies adjacent as well. He also now has Guts on arrival, which he did not have before, and he also skill locks the combatant when he attacks them at an 80% rate. So every single change here is actually extremely incredible, and Azathoth actually didn't really need an Evo to begin with because he was already in a really strong unit, to be honest. But yeah, let's just go over his rules. As he talked about before, this is a brand new rule. He can deny the enemy skills by inflicting skill lock on them. But it's guaranteed even though it's 80% because he has an early activation rate up with a glint on phase start. So that's 100%, and that means it'll be 90% for the first 2 turns, the skill lock. And if you skill see them, then that's 100%. Very cool. At a large range for what's it called? For a skill to ceiling debuff. Which we're only getting more recently now as a guaranteeable thing. Because in the past it wasn't really a guaranteeable effect. But starting with Terra Mighty and then now with Shenlong and now with Azathoth, it's becoming a lot more common to have this effect guaranteed, which is nice. About time since you're already killing enemies instantly anyways. Besides that, we also can see that Azathoth is a Punisher, and he achieves this by first off having tanking, which is improved in this case because he can bestow evasion to himself and allies, which is actually good so that it's not just him selfishly surviving everything. So he can have some other frontliners beside him, and he can also survive through Guts, which you're probably not going to use because he has evasion, but if you're not playing off evasion and there's only a few enemies, it could be a good way to survive just in case, or if they pierce evasion. And he also has regeneration when he's at a 90% rate, and this part of his kit was ridiculous even on release. He's able to resist every single debuff, ever. It's kind of stupid. He removes all debuffs every time he's debuffed, and he's just immune to every skill locking effect too, so you can't deny him from removing debuffs, and it's guaranteeable too with his glint and skill seeding. And let's see, besides this, he is a late damage dealer, which this part has not changed from before. Essentially, he has some pretty impressive damage potential. It's just that it takes a while to build up to. He gets his crit on self at an 80% rate at the total turn 6 or onward. 90% rate rather. And that means it's guaranteeable with skill seeding. And the significance of turn 6 is because he also has a stackable effect of mild damage amp for every time he is debuffed. And that increases it 1.2 times every single time he gets debuffed, which can stack up to a certain amount. I didn't calculate it. But at turn 6, he'll have all 6 stacks ready, along with his crit. And he, of course, will have full resistance in the meantime to survive from the effects of any annoying debuffs, since he just needs the debuff inflicted on him before he removes them immediately. And he has a bit of extra damage on his charge too with Limit and Berserk, though you probably don't want it going off just because you want him to be inflicting skill lock and getting evasion up. But yeah, he's a very, 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 very good unit. I didn't even talk about the other defensive part of him, which was he inflicts a weapon change debuff on everyone, where they all receive a weapon change to Long Slash, which can both act as a way of inducing enemies to hit him more often in frontline to get his other attack ups off, which is attack up and brawn when he's hit, so even more damage. And as well as preventing enemies from the backline attacking even more, which acts as a defensive aspect of it. So he's kind of like Tower Mighty essentially in terms of being a having a counter mechanic dense kit. He has total debuff resistance, damage denial with extreme amounts with evasion and guts. He has skill denial that's guaranteeable, and he has high damage over time. It's unfortunate it's not instant, but he's already eating way too much. So he's well suited for most challenges, and he's particularly exceptional with Oz, as you can see in the footage. Since his skill lock is guaranteeable, he can just skill lock everyone, and deny the enemy from doing anything about it, while also getting a high rate off his evasion because he's just hitting so many targets. And besides that, you may also want to bring the Fumi Leaked AR, which denies charge, because his charge, as I said, does interrupt his ability to get evasion and inflict skill lock. And it works out that Oz can as well. It also triggers his ramping damage amp, so you don't need any external debuffs to get the full max 6 stacks if you do have that AR. So yeah, extremely powerful unit. Glad I got him during this banner. What do you guys think?
I was going to make a joke when you were talking about immunity to debuffs about base lab, and then I forgot, wait, no, he doesn't actually remove debuffs off himself until his CS, so
yeah.
Never mind that joke, I guess. But yeah, immunity to debuffs is of course nice, but yeah, he was really, really powerful, and I don't know if they really needed to give him more with just skill lock. Like it's a fairly simple Evo, just skill lock is the main thing. But I mean, he already kind of demolished anyone who was in range of him. Who is probably going to be long slash because of what he does to them. But now he just completely neuters them from any chance of actually fighting back.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of describing it, neuter, because it just denies him of like most mechanics I can offer, just like Tower Mighty.
Yeah, this kind of feels like, as Zara said before, and you as well said before, it's a pretty simple skill evolution, but that changes. Well, actually, it doesn't change anything, but adds a lot to his kit, because it's primarily used as this kind of selfish unit, but now you can actually provide some good support to his allies through evasion and through skill locking the board. So with these two effects in mind, he's both become better at being by himself, beating these challenge quests. He's also become better in a team as well by being able to provide some extra support to his allies. The guts itself doesn't really feel like it's doing much there, because if he's going to trigger it once, he's probably going to die again, but it's always good to have, as you said before. Azathoth was already pretty strong, and he also got a decently strong skill evolution as well.
Yeah, he's very strong. I guess there's nothing much to say about it, but yeah, we can read out the chat now. Fuck, I'm responsible for everyone's because you ended on me. Alright, I'll read out the chat.
You chose it.
I mean, there wasn't much for the other ones anyway, but
these are these evils have happened a while ago, so it's fine. I'll just skip the little exchanges with me and Jerbear. Yo, President, welcome. You HP blossomed him, but attack seeding just extra. This should be talking about, who is this? Tsathoggua. That is definitely a choice. I mean, he's a tank, but probably the last use tank or a secondary tank. Not great. Use Smoky God. That was Tsathoggua you won't. Yo, Gene. That's you. Gene John. Life Wonders gives Nyarlathotep skill evolutions and skins, but no variant. That's... I don't know what's up with... Sigma's not inactive in the game. He's just... I don't know. Maybe they're waiting for the right time, because Nomad got a variant too, which is fine. They got a little silly. Still better off than Marchosias. Life Underscan code. Imagine designing a kit this sinister looking. Yes, Nyarlathotep is all about disruption. It's not optimal by any means, but it's just like a... If you want to expose Life Wonder's spaghetti code even further than it is, then Nyarlathotep's a good choice. Do I use flat tickets for transients? I do sparingly. I try to avoid to because, you know, it's mostly just units I don't need in the end. Dagon gaining the... Why did they even bother reward? It's certainly an Evo of all time. I think we can agree ahead of time, spoiler alert, that Dagon's evolution is the worst of all the set by a large margin, so it's only going up from here. Alright, doing most of the work. Ooh. That's definitely true. My boy. What's up, guys? And my Housamo still not working. Yeah, please check out the account retrieval form in Life Wonder's website, and you'll just have to give some information about your past account, and you might be able to retrieve it if you have that info on you. Hopefully you resolved that, because that's very unfortunate that you uninstalled it without having a backup ready. It's so crazy how busted he is for a 4-star. Yeah, it's for real. It's like his original kit was already like a 5-star kit, to be honest. He was better than a lot of 5 stars from before his Evo, and now there's this. But sure. I'm not complaining now that I have him. Alright, well, we're gonna move on to volume 45. We're gonna be starting off with Nobuharu, and this is going to be covered by Algus. Whenever you're ready.
Right. So, Nobuharu. I wrote my notes in the wrong order. I wrote Ikutoshi second. Whoops. Right, so Nobuharu, he got an Evo for his skill that is for some reason the only skill that is not translated. I don't know what that's about. So the base effect went from a slash range vigor on phase start at a crummy 70% rate to a 100% proc vigor all around on phase start. So this is a great change, of course, because it means you can place Nobuharu in any of the 4 slots and be guaranteed that he buffs someone. Also, due to his after hitting vigor Ardor in his base kit, Nobuharu naturally wanted to be placed in an earlier position, so he had a greater chance of, you know, buffing someone before they attack. But that would have also made his vigor hit no one if he was in slots 1 or 2, because he'd be in front, so, you know, he'd miss them with a slash range vigor. And now with this buff, vigor and ardor aren't mutually exclusive on turn 1. You can put him in, you know, slots 3 and 4, and he'll still be able to give the people in front ardor. Or rather, you wouldn't do that, because you wouldn't be able to give them ardor. You can put him in slots 1 and 2 and give them ardor and also vigor. And yeah, as for the new effects, because he only got 1 change to his vigor, because that was all it was, Nobuharu gained a variety of turn start buffs depending on his CP levels. Now, unlike most of the time I complain about these, Nobuharu can actually generate his own CP, and at a fair pace, especially if you move him, or if you just have him hit many enemies, which he can because he's sniped. So they're actually usable effects because he has CP. If his CP is at 20 or above, he grants expanded movement to himself and at the ally in front. Expanded movement is a rare buff that's potentially pretty powerful depending on your positioning needs. Only requiring 20 CP is kind of ridiculous, because that means he'll have pretty high uptime on it. Nobuharu could easily gain 20 CP in 1 turn, or even less than that depending on your team setup. You could just gain it right away if you wanted. It's a shame that the rate is 80%, so it's not guaranteeable without outside assistance, but it's high enough, I guess. At 40 CP, he removes the debuff in slash range. Nothing too interesting here, but it's useful nonetheless. When his CP is 80 or higher, he applies Ardor Strengthening to allies in a 2x3 block in front. This is just a 1.5 times damage boost to Ardor. More damage is always nice. That is his main purpose after all. The 2x3 range is of a bit of note because it also means that Nobuharu can reach the ally 2 squares in front of him with both Ardor and Ardor Strengthening. His Ardor application on hit is a 2 square cross range, so it might otherwise not reach if the Strengthening was only 1 range, so having it as a 2x3 is useful in this case. And when his CP is at 100, he grants Adamantine to allies in front. A pretty good buff to apply. Adamantine is long-lasting and uncommon, and given his rate of CP regen, you could reasonably maintain uptime on Adamantine, because Nobuharu will have a few turns to regen his CP, by which time Adamantine should hopefully have worn off. You might have like a turn or two of downtime, depending on how many enemies there are for him to hit and all that. Overall, I'd say it's one of the better buffs of the batch. It fixes an issue with Nobuharu's contradictory team order by making Vigor all-round, and it gives Nobuharu a variety of buffs that he can actually attain without having to use like an entire other unit to give him CP or something, like other unit evos. It's not a game-breaking evo that makes Nobuharu the next hot thing, but it's a good buff for those who want to use him. I could see the mobility uptime as well being useful for Nobuharu buffing some movement attacker that could do with expanded movement, which I didn't bother thinking of. But yeah, expanded movement is always strong, so having it so easily is pretty great. But yeah, that's about it.
Oh yeah, I forgot that some units could use the expanded movement and not just for very gimmicky quests where they push you. But yeah, I guess Kotobu Plus would be good if you want Guaranteed Charm for some reason. There might be a few other units I'm forgetting, but I feel like he's the most prominent one that doesn't have any ability to move, but could use it.
Overall, I'm kind of glad that he got this skill evolution. So I did try to use him like both times, but nowadays I'm probably not use him anymore because I do have better buffer units than him. But I did try to use him a lot of times when my options were scarce, and it always annoyed me what Tsathoggua said, that you couldn't get Vigor and Ardor on the same turn with him on the same first turn. But thankfully, this skill evolution fixed that horrible mistake that should have never existed in his kit, but it was still kept 6 years later since his implementation, so that's pretty nice. I'm also this skill evolution, even though I mostly used it for, I mostly tried to use Nobuharu for offensive buffing. It's nice to see that they didn't completely neglect his defensive capabilities by giving him Adamantine and remove debuff to allies in front of it, because he always had this weird 80% protection to allies in slash range that was really the only ability that required movement for him. So it was just kind of there. It didn't feel like it did anything because it was only protection. It was only 80%. I mean, so why bother trying to play defensively with him? But I guess now he does have some extra ways to defend his team by playing Adamantine and removing debuffs as well, which is provided you meet the CP requirements, that is, which is still pretty nice, I'd say.
It's still a bit weird because it's still the only ability that requires movement. But
it is.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But it's good. I thought it was nice that they at least tried to keep that side of the kit as well, because usually sometimes they just, in these skill evolutions, they just add a completely new thing or just improve one of the old things, which was their prime directive. But here, I guess they both improved what they're supposed to be used for, and also the parts that no one would use them for. But it's still pretty. It's still a pretty good safety net, I'd say.
Yeah. Also, just as a side thought, this is again one of those evolutions that do a pseudo charge evolution thing because of the Adamantine only being at 100 CP. He'll only activate it the one time, and then presumably he'll get his charge immediately after, and then he won't be able to bestow it again. But as Irby said, you'll have like 4 turns to get your charge up. Hopefully a bit later.
I think that too.
Yes, Saugus did say that. But yeah, it's a pretty decent Evo. I'm probably not gonna use him, but it's a pretty decent Evo. Not gonna lie. Just I'll probably just use Lianon instead or something. But he doesn't need to move, which is a nice.
You don't need to move him. That's the advantage, I guess. Even though there's also better options than him for that, but still.
Yeah. He's not good for instant damage, but he'd be good for what's called, as Harvey would call it, skirmishing, if you have the time to build up your charge slowly.
Yeah. This CS also can be really fun. Like, if you manage to get a team that can get his CS going, can make some pretty decent memes with it, with all his CP charging.
Yeah, I'm sure, if you have enough dupes especially. Okay, we are going to move on to the next topic. Oh wow, people really do not care about Nobuharu or Azathoth. No comments, crickets, which is understandable. Alright, we're moving on to Amatsumara. Fair warning, the footage you are about to see is quite disturbing, and by disturbing, I mean it is not properly fitted resolution-wise because everyone gave me different footage. But yeah, we're going to be moving on to Amatsumara now. And I believe this is going to be Urbi who will be covering it.
Yes. Okay, Amatsumara. Amatsumara got a skill evolution for his for his damn it, where is this?
Are you good?
Okay, never mind. I'll just say what he got. Basically, he got guaranteed concentration out of the box for all allies around him on phase start, which is a new and welcome addition to his kit. Previously, before this skill evolution, he only really had the Fashionista staple ardor to allies directly adjacent at 80%. So that was the only buff you could say that he bestowed on phase start at a guaranteeable rate because of his concentration as well. Even though it's not actually guaranteed because it's a skill later, but we don't talk about that. But now he actually has guaranteed without any skill seeds he's guaranteed to give concentration to all allies around him, just like Nobuharu's Vigor, except this one is a brand new buff for him, which is nice. He can now with that he can now bestow concentration, ardor, and brawn locally all around him. So that's pretty nice to have on a 4-star. That's a 12 times multiplier if you can manage to get all the positionings correct and fish for that bomb, which honestly shouldn't be too difficult to get that. But on top of that, he also got a pretty interesting tool, I should say, to his kit. He now basically steals buffs from enemies he hits at a 50% rate, assuming he does get his phase start concentration. It's not the best of rates, but it's an additional utility that he has. There's not a whole lot of units that do this. There's quite a handful, yes, but not a whole lot of them. But that's pretty nice to have. And he also got a refresh for his phase start concentration. His phase start concentration now can be refreshed every turn from turn 3 of each phase and onwards. It's not guaranteeable, unfortunately, since it's only 80%, but it's good to be able to renew it at least, and it's not that hard to ensure that gets to 100% really with all the glints and everything that's passing around. So yeah, now he's capable of a lot of potential attack buffing. He has an interesting synergy with the McCoy actually that I found out as soon as this came out, since McCoy can pretty much just receive all his buffs and give him combo on top of bestowing weakness on the 3 on the adjacent columns. Amatsumara also exploits the weakness, so that's that's a pretty nice combo that I've honestly been using myself as well on Blossom grindings whenever I'm not doing mentor runs, which is never. But it was nice to try that out. They have a lot of different attack buffs and similarities, but none of them clash with each other, and they both have some pretty unique synergy, with Amatsumara granting skill rate up to Makroik, so that he can inflict his crit plus more easily, and him bestowing combo back to Amatsumara, which is pretty nice to have. But yeah, I think this is overall a decent skill evolution. Concentration is still not the most common buff to have, even though it's been getting more common recently with stuff like Xinglong and whatever. But it's still quite rare. It's still on a 4-star, and it's guaranteed. So
Forest has a name.
What?
Forest has a name, you know.
He doesn't exist.
No. He's not whatever. He's cool.
I didn't say whatever. I just said he doesn't exist because I never leveled him. even though I thought he was pretty strong, and I think it was even me that reviewed him and told that he was pretty strong. I never actually leveled him because I'm saving resources. But yeah, I think this skill evolution is not super great game breaking as well, just like the previous ones. But it's a very decent skill evolution.
Very decent. You heard it here, folks.
I think it's good, but I'm not going to say it's very good. Okay.
I know, but saying very decent is like saying very mid. It's like
saying very decent is saying it's good. It's above decent.
Then why didn't you just say very good? Whatever, it's fine.
If I said very good, it was above good, which is not above good.
Is that how things work nowadays?
Maybe I'm using false logic or something, but that's how I see it.
Yeah. I do think Amatsumara is just a nice combination of things. Maybe I was like half asleep when you're talking about it, but did you explain the stupid tenacity stealing combo thing?
The tenacity stealing combo thing? I think that is very, 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 very silly. And I don't think people should ever use that ever, because Amatsumara, even though he does get some benefits from moving, it's not really worth it. But if you really want now, since he does bestow Mecha Man to enemies whenever he moves, he can now bestow to them the Mecha Man, and bestow also the 2x damage multiplier to allies to exploit Mecha Man. So without them actually getting the defense benefits from the tenacity, if it actually procs. So basically, he's now bestowing Mecha Man to the enemies, which is an ability that grants them a defense buff at 60% of the times. So it was a very questionable skill evolution that he got last time. He was basically giving the enemies a defense buff, but he was also giving allies an exploitation for them having that ability. But that exploitation did not actually fully cover the defensive buff that they gained from tenacity, which made the skill evolution completely pointless, and actually made him worse if you decided to do this and if Mecha Man procced. But now, if you're lucky, you decide to move him for some reason, you can steal that tenacity buff.
The synergy.
And actually exploit the Mecha Man advantage. So you have that at least. There you go.
In the very least, even if it's stupid, at least it's like it makes the first evolution not look as fucking stupid. Because now it seems like there's an actual machination behind it.
I mean,
Do you really think that's what they intended?
no, I don't think so. But I just think it was a funny coincidence, though.
It actually makes it harder to steal buffs if you do that, because you're just stealing back the tenacity rather than their other buffs.
Pretty
That's
much,
what
yeah.
Combo's for.
That's why you shouldn't move him ever.
Just pretend that first Evo
But the
was
combo-
like
Also, if he has combo, that they will also have a chance of proccing tenacity again.
yeah.
If they
So
hit again.
It's you might never want to move him after this evolution. And just even if he does have combo, just ignore the combo because like he's not going to be.
He already bestowed three attack buffs without moving, so.
Besides that, I
Never
do
mind.
think, believe it or not, there's actually very few units that can steal buffs on that timer of on attack. We have a few units that can take it or whatever through other effects, but on like attack, it's pretty much just Aegir and Goemon sharing it with allies. So it's nice to have another unit that can do it now, Amatsumara. Which may not seem relevant, but for things like, as you can see in his footage leaked here, he has like a move phase and crit pistol to enemies, and that's normally like no one can exploit that except for those units because of the timing. So Amatsumara can actually steal that back as a result, which is nice.
Do we have anyone else who bestows buffs to enemies besides him and Hote and like, I guess the guts resistance? Would he steal guts resistance?
He would.
Okay, so maybe consider not having that AR equipped, the one that features his big face.
I mean, he'd steal it after the fact, I think, because the AR effect is applied last after the regular cut. And I think his steal is just like before hitting, just like the application of guts resistance.
Isn't that thing irremovable though? Maybe I'm remembering wrong.
It's not irremovable. It's just it has some weird effect on it that's 0% to remove it when they're dead. But yeah, just ignore that.
It is not irremovable, so he could in fact steal it.
That's stupid.
Well, with combo, he can steal it back if he's not stealing back tenacity. Go move him, people. Like, a little moral of the day, but yeah, keep it in mind because it is kind of a shit rate, but he is still one of the few units that can steal buffs in that timer. Could be useful for you. All right. I think we are talked out for this unit, so we can go ahead. And, actually, did you say everything you want to say about this, August? I'm not sure if you said it's not just one.
No, I didn't have too much to say. I mean, having someone more buff stealing is always nice, and Amatsumara, has that constant concentration, so he has that base 50% really, and he has combo if you want to move him. So I think he has a pretty decent chance of stealing buffs, which could be interesting to play around with. So it's pretty interesting and decently strong, either I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say so too. But I feel like just like Nobuharu, I'll just forget he exists and not use him ever. I don't know, there's like a lot of good units now that it's like, I'm just not remembering a lot of them. Anyway, we'll move on to the next topic. So the next topic is going to be Ikutoshi, and you're going to be covering this, August, whenever you are ready.
Can I really be ready? Right, so our resident concentration and glint bot got yet another Evo, but can it save him from being mediocre? Probably not. So he got when appearing guts to self and allies around him, sure, whatever, nothing much to say there. He has two unique buffs on face start. The first is nullified debuff strengthening, which is 0.7 times damage taken while holding nullified debuff. This actually kind of sucks for a few reasons. First of all, this buff only lasts 3 turns for some reason, so that's a pretty terrible uptime. That's only 3 turns per phase at max. 0.7 times is not an incredible defense boost. And also, Ikutoshi doesn't actually have a way to give it to allies besides his CS, which he has no way to actually charge up, which is a real problem because the buff only lasts 3 turns. So you have to get Ikutoshi's CS up within 3 turns to get any benefit out of it, which is not going to happen because he has no method of gaining CP. Except arousal, I guess, if you want to count that. It doesn't count. Also, nullified debuff duration is really nebulous. If you're getting hit and, taking advantage of the defense boost, there's a good chance you're also going to get debuffed, which will just end up removing nullified debuff and the defense boost. So, it won't last long at all, almost certainly. So it's difficult to natively take advantage of, and it doesn't even last very long, and it's not a useful effect, not particularly. The other unique buff, this one does not apply to Ikutoshi, is turn start limit. When allies have less than 81% HP, they will gain limit on turn start at a 100% rate. This actually isn't a terrible buff. It's a potentially free attack buff at a 100% rate, but it's hampered by the HP condition, which is not necessarily easy to get. You'll need to get hit or use some unit who reduces ally HP. And a lot of units who do lower ally HP natively have limit anyway, like Yoritomo to his allies or Christmas Fushi, so there's a decent amount of overlap there. I guess that's part of what the guts is about. Like, if Ikutoshi gives everyone guts, that means they can just face tank a big hit with no worry, which I guess works. And for some reason, this buff only lasts 5 turns, which is decently long, but it has a risk of the phase changing while the buff is still on, which just makes it last for no time at all next phase, so you'll need to manage that. And, make sure you have enough turns of the buff going to the next phase, or wait until it's worn off so it can reapply next phase or something like that. After moving, he grants oppression advantage to self and allies all around. This oppression advantage is a 1.5 times bonus versus oppression, and it's the same as Girimaka's buff. It's actually the same ID as well. Since he has to move to get this buff anyway, it synergizes nicely with his Driving Force Plus Evo, which inflicts oppression in a big pyramid range at a nice reliable 90% rate. Considering he's already granting concentration to some allies, he actually has some pretty decent damage amping capabilities, especially if you add limit into it as well. Unfortunately, I did not bother doing calculations, but it's like, 2.2 times 1.5 times 2, or more than 2, because limit is going to be greater than 2 by the time you get it. And lastly, he got some terrible heal, 300 HP heal at a 60% rate when he's buffed. It feels almost Mecha Man-esque for some reason. I don't know why they love 60% rate so much. Please stop it, Life Wonders.
It's kind of understandable. Well, maybe not understandable, but expected, just because it's an after buff effect.
It's an after buff effect.
So they like to keep those rates not
like that.
guaranteed generally.
It's not even good after buff effect, though.
I mean, it's like nourishment tick, so it's like...
Ikutoshi has no defensive capabilities, though, besides guts.
So heal tanking instead of defense, right?
He has a limit after moving.
Of course.
Arousal.
So all in all, I'd say this Evo is kind of on the lower end, in my opinion. The oppression advantage is the most universally useful part, and, it actually synergizes nicely with his existing kit. But then on the other half, with the unique buffs, they're either mediocre and or of dubious practicality. You can't really guarantee you'll get to 80% HP on demand for most units, which leaves the limit as something that's kind of troublesome to plan around. So I don't know how well that'll really go over, and I don't know if it's worth the trouble.
Well, you can see in the footage I use, it's completely possible to do. It's just you still don't have too many options, but one of the best options is Tsathoggua, who can just like destroy your team's HP very fast. And it actually works out very well because his guts is board wide and refreshable, unlike Ikutoshi's, which is just one time in local. So, and that's energy. I'd say Ikutoshi's actually pretty strong, but in most other teams, he's not great. Kind of a weird offensive skirmisher. I really should stop using that word.
I think he's still pretty shitty, but it's not a super bad skill evolution.
I mean, just think about it this way. If you are playing with Guts tanking anyways, Ikutoshi's kind of nice to just slap on a Guts tanking team.
Yeah, limit. But yeah, I do think it's... I do think it's very... I don't know. I don't know why they gave these dumb durations to these specific effects. Like, I can get why the 1.5 times damage to oppression is 2 turns, because he's going to have to move at least every 2 turns to refresh that concentration and glint 2 allies. But why is the nullify debuff only 3 turns? Why is the limit only 5 turns? Like, I don't really get these restrictions. He doesn't really need this kind of nerf. These aren't very powerful abilities. I mean,
I like how he gets a buff and it's like, this is a nerf.
What?
I like how this is a buff and it's like, this is a nerf.
No, it's more like, no. I mean, it's like, yes, he got buffed, you received this buff, but it feels like its duration came out nerfed for some reason. Why is it not permanent? Why is the nullify debuff take 0.7% times damage?
I mean, it refreshes every phase start, so it's fine, I think. And what's it called? This isn't the first time they did it. It's like with the concentration strengthening AR with Nomad and Kurogane. I can kind of understand why they don't make them last forever, because, you know, it's like, if you're going all in for damage, then you better be doing it quick, not just wasting time twiddling your fingers. Like, could you imagine a phase that takes over 5 turns while you're going full offense?
Nullify debuff is only on CS.
Okay, that's something else entirely. Nullify debuff is completely useless. I don't mind it there. Just use tenacity at the guaranteed rate from some other unit that actually reduces it more and doesn't have some weird charge conditional. But I'm just talking about the turn start limit, which I feel is pretty useful in the right team setup. And, you know, of course, you can't just instantly use it because you still need to get your HP down. But you don't need 5 turns to go under that range.
I guess so. But still, I feel like it's an unneeded limitation in these cases.
Maybe. I mean, he could potentially get stronger if there are more units released that can sap your own unit's HP. Right now, there's not too many. It's just like Tsathoggua and sort of Ryota and Lianen, so not really.
Can't bring him to the board and have him die, and then everyone have limit forever.
Well, yeah, you could definitely not do that. Why would you want to do that? Okay, whatever.
Well,
you wish
you
wish he was as good as Dagon.
Yes, so you can pop in to give the heal and
just
then die, and then there you go. You have the heal.
No, I still think this evolution is still far better than Dagon's, but no.
Yes, I think so too. But it's kind of like
the bar is.
I only said why. Yes, exactly. The bar is at the floor right now.
But whenever we do get a unit who can like instantly drop an ally to 1 HP, I'll look forward to using that with Hombre Tigre for his weird limit buffs. Maybe I'll actually get to use that.
Yeah, I do think right now Ikutoshi is more useful than Hombre Tigre, but they kind of do essentially the same thing.
No.
I mean, well, that would equalize it for both in that sense. But yeah, I think we're done talking about Ikutoshi, so still not enough chat, so we'll just move on to Smoky God, which I will be covering. Alright, Smoky God. Ignore the footage where I accidentally used my dungeon point recording it. So, Smoky God's evolution is a bit like Dagon's. It's kind of mid, to be honest, but I can see what they're going for. Just like Dagon, they guaranteed the Brawn. Very iconic. When it was 90% before, now it's 90%. Doesn't matter for people who skill seed them, although barely anyone skill seeds Smoky God, except for like just me. He received a few extra effects. Purification to self and allies adjacent every time he's debuffed at a 40% rate. Increased recovery to self and allies adjacent every time he attacks at a 50% rate. And glint and HP loss to self before attacking at a 60% rate. So, this actually modifies his existing roles in a bit of a spotty way. Like, some parts are changed, other parts are not, but his overall roles haven't changed. He's still a backline, frontline, alternating supporter. It's just that the frontline part was pretty much a part you'd never really want to use. Now it's like slightly more justifiable. And we'll talk about the existing parts. Besides that, he's also a possession coordinator. You know, he has his anchor on the board, which only lasts for 2 turns, and he is like permanently plugged behind a unit generally speaking, if you want to use his backline support. So he's going to prevent units from being pushed back. And if you do decide to move him to the front as someone who can help in the front line, then in the next turn, before the enemy can move, he'll actually push them back 1 square, which can be helpful if you're either trying to close the gap with the enemy by pushing the zone forward, or if you're just trying to deny them from even hitting you. But yeah, back to the backline, frontline support thing. His backline support has not really, or definitely has not changed at all. The reason why you'd want to use Smoky God, as you can see in this footage, his most relevant use is that he has guaranteeable guts to just the 1 square ahead of him, which doesn't sound like much, except guts prevents units from dying, so that just means that as long as you have him skill seated, or have a mentor who's constantly giving him glint, then he will just constantly keep on giving guts, and they will never, ever, ever, ever die, which is very powerful in certain quests like Ikebukuro Dungeon. It's obviously not a generalizable thing, because as long as the enemy can poke behind, Smoky God can die quickly, which is most likely the case because he also has a penalty for this effect where he reduces his own HP by 1,000 every single time he misses, and that is something you can't skip out on. But yeah, other than that, he also bestows adamantine to himself as well as allies every time he misses, and he has a damage amp to the row that would be ahead of the person in front of him, weakness. So his partners would then be useful as slash or long slash units as a result. But yeah, he is, as I said, a frontline supporter, although his frontline utility has been very dubious. It's just slightly, less dubious now with this evolution. So, as was before, he is able to push enemies at long slash range if he goes ahead, and if he gets his charge, then the only way he can actually activate it is by moving forward, so he can give guts and anchor back to his allies in that case, and heal them a bit. Besides that, though, the reason why you'd want to move him is so that he can actually partially work against his own penalty, because if you're using Smoky God, you may have noticed that he kind of eats up his own health instantly, and he's precariously at 1 HP all the time as a result, due to his 1000 HP lost every turn. So in this way, he has improved healing by bestowing increased recovery to self, which multiplies healing by 1.5 times from heal effects, and he heals allies that are adjacent to him at an 80% rate every time he hits someone, 800 HP, fairly meaty. It's the same amount as regeneration. And he self-bestows HP loss, which is the important part because that reverses the penalty, so he's healing 1000 instead of losing 1000 every turn. Though keep in mind that does not stack with increased recovery because it is reverse healing. It does not actually multiply the healing by 1.5 times. And lastly, of course, when he charges, he gets a bit of healing too, so that's kind of how he gets his HP back. Very few sources, but now there's just a few more sources that got his HP back. So this is kind of mostly dubious in my opinion, but I'll get to that after I talk to the other parts. He has improved general supportive abilities too. That's works both in backline and frontline. He is able to give weakness resistance to allies and himself, which is I don't know, it's air, and he can purify allies or give them purification as well as himself every time he's debuffed, as I mentioned. So now he has a way of dealing with some debuffs, which is nice. And that lasts for 3 turns, so even though it's at a low rate, once you get it off, that will last you for a while and you don't need to roll for it again. And lastly, if he dies, which is more likely if you decide to keep him in backline forever, then he can heal allies for 2000 HP. So yeah, he's still best to just permanently plugged behind now. It's just that now you might have a way to keeping him alive that doesn't require entirely depending on what enemies are available to make sure they can't poke from the back. So you can actually more safely and more justifiably put him in the front. I'm not sure if I think it's worth it though. He's just a lot more fun from my experience, just being in the back forever and being a gut spot. But if you're doing this sort of mixed gameplay thing, Smoky God's better suited for that. Not my favorite thing, but it's there, I guess. So he's no longer just a one-trick pony. He can theoretically work for any type of challenge quest if he can, get his occasionally healing and debuff mitigation going off. But yeah, for recommendations, I'd say he's of course best with quests where they have low range. So that would be, as long as the units have low range, then they can't get to him in the back, and he can just give the unit in front of them guts forever. So long as they don't have buff removal anyways. So Ikutoshi Dungeon is probably the most relevant case for Smoky God. As you can see here, I mean, I wish I got more phases going off, instead I just wasted dungeon points. But he's able to just prevent a Varga from dying ever, because he can give Glint and he'll just give guts forever, no matter how many times he's set, and they can't poke him from the back. You can also force the scenario where they have low range through using Azathoth, which we talked about before. So I'm glad I got him, so Smoky God has more general utility if you have Azathoth, since he bestows a long slash weapon change to all the enemies, which forces everyone to have a shorter range and being unable to poke. You might want to pair Drunk to just so that the weapon change lasts longer too, since the weapon change for some reason is a debuff. I mentioned before that he's got his long slash and slash partners. That's just so he can exploit the weakness. If you want to, populate the enemy front row more, then you can use units like Boogeyman or Gordon or Behemoth or pretty much anyone that can pull units forward to, make sure there's actually units to be hitting in the front. Of course, Itsama still works with Smoky God. If you use Itsama, then Itsama will spread guts to everyone, and then Smoky God will just give guts back to Itsama, so everyone will always have guts. Very nice synergy. And yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts on this unit. Well, one thing is, I guess the most safest way you can use Smoky God as a frontliner is to make sure he's being a phase finisher, so clearing the phase with Smoky God in front, so that no one can clap him back. But other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it.
I do think it's the amount that he can heal is the most interesting part. Like 1,200 HP for each unit hit that's nothing to scoff at. Hitting 5 units, he could very easily heal his entire team to full just from that, which is interesting. I guess he doesn't have too much other defenses to back it up, really. He has Adamantine, but he can't heal and apply Adamantine at the same time. But you could alternate it. But yeah, I don't know, who's the last unit we got who really had this level of healing?
Just Ahab, and there's kind of Jormungandr, not really. There's Kalki who got his after buff thing, although that's kind of like the person we just talked about before, Ikutoshi.
Well, I guess comparing anything to Ahab would make it look worse, but yeah. Either way, I think his healing is good, and otherwise it's not really that interesting.
Well, healing...
I
It's still not healing himself in mind with his attack, so...
I don't think it's the end of the world, to be honest. I think it might be alright for challenge quests. I have been doing this kind of meme challenge that when I use him alongside my Shackleton, just to prove how easy the challenge quests have become, and having him bestow HP loss reversal to himself, especially in between phases and during downtime, can actually prove pretty good. Like, yeah, you probably don't want to, but if you're doing anything if you're doing content where the enemies actually have some sort of vertical range, that HP loss reversal might be pretty handy to have. Might be. It's going to help a lot, especially for future phases. This is assuming he's being used on content that has multiple phases, and is not just Ikebukuro Dungeon, where the enemies can't reach the back line. But this HP loss reversal will help keep him in the board for longer, because this actually does become a problem in those cases. And I think this HP loss reversal fixed, even though it's only like 60% for him to get this. It's per enemy, so it's likely that it's going to trigger. So having to do this during downtime or during the time where the enemies can't reach him for some reason, or they're almost dying, it's the final hit. This will be very useful. So for you to bring him to the front, just heal a little bit and get the HP loss reversal, and then put him back so he heals himself back up to full over time. Can be a really game changer, I'd say. But I'm not sure if that's the correct term for it. But it's definitely helpful to have. Everything else is just kind of like, I guess the purification and increased recovery is nice, but it doesn't really change a lot. It's some extra utility. I'm more keen on that HP loss reversal because I really hated that HP decrease on him before, so that's pretty nice.
Yeah, in very ways, it's like this reduces his situationality, so he's more general. It might not improve his peaks, but it does improve, the amount of quests he can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a strong unit, but I'm pretty sure no one else uses him except for me, so that's kind of funny. So, we'll move on. Actually, we'll read out the chat. Zalgus, please cover this topic. I already talked last time, so you can cover this one, and Ruby covered the last set.
How dare you? Where were we?
Not too far. It's One Piece is real saying things.
Thanks. Housamo. Children with the CP movement phase start a CP AR is useful. CP movement phase.
He's talking about CP for Nobuharu, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Nobuharu. I did think about those. What you probably want is enough CP to immediately gain the 20 CP required for the movement expansion. I do not know if any of the CPARs give enough CP for that, though. If they give 20 CP. I don't know if you have any stats on that.
I mean, he can equip the single Bulls Club, so assuming you have enough buffs on the board, might be an option to consider.
Yeah, I think I equipped that on him for the footage I used. It works fairly well for him.
Well, I guess some of those could work then. Now he can build. Build what? Just came in to say hello and goodbye because I'm at work. Hi, Azinu. At least Ikutoshi's buff makes him actually usable instead of the whole lot of nothing he did before. Hey, he was a glint and concentration.
No one used him for his
before.
glint and concentration, just like no one used Duo for that, jeez.
Yeah, I mean, he's better than Ed Duo because Duo's rates are atrocious. I say this as a Duo owner.
Move.
How does Duo still not have a skill evo?
He has one, it just still sucks.
Does he?
There's the concentration one, which made him a double bestower.
It was like the 2018 skill evolution.
Before they were actually getting...
Well, maybe they should give him another one because they were definitely not cooking with that one.
I mean, people were excited for it at the time, but our options back then were pretty trash, so we didn't have much of a reference frame that made sense.
Yeah, but 50% or something glint and concentration is not it. Anyway, Icky is okay, just okay, limited but okay. Yeah, he's definitely usable. He seems fun regardless. I feel more inclined to use him anyway. I feel like that's a sentiment that is passed around a lot of the time for these evos, for these lesser known characters, and then they don't get used and people just fall back on the tried and true broken units. But I mean, if you want to use them, go ahead. It could be fun. There's also the Snow Malusian AR for HP drain.
Was it like only 500 HP or something?
What?
Doesn't actually decrease that much HP from what I remember.
I do not remember.
With regards to activating Ikutoshi's thing.
I have it open here.
300 HP to allies.
Actual trash.
Turn start. It's nourishment.
Wow.
I can't believe we're getting so much use out
It's
of
Dagon
this
skill evolution.
Wow. I think you should put them in a team together, and then you could possibly cancel it out.
The synergy.
The synergy.
Hi guys, I'm like, hi Ugly. We're halfway through already though, yeah. I'm not like other girls, I skill seeded Smoky.
I mean, that's true. Everyone's always like, use Smoky God, but no one really has a reason to skill seed him just because the Super Glint or whatever it's called is already 100%. And as cheesy as the
maybe you should use Smoky God to buff the Smoky God.
The fuck?
There you go.
I mean, I did skill seed him as a thing. I don't think anyone else did.
Just give him Super Glint. Can't say I like this buff too much. It does give him a reason to attack, but he's still better as support. Yeah, I guess. I mean, the allure of healing for 6,000 is pretty nice. Maybe more if you give him more range. Don't do that.
Well, this helps him as a support
you could do
too.
That.
This helps him as a support too because it lets him actually be used as a support for more quests. Where before it's just like,
without killing himself from HP loss.
Yeah.
Yes.
He can actually survive from our quests now, which is the important bit. Still, you have to do some thinking. Even I'm not sure when the best times to bring him out besides the end phases, but we'll just have to see if someone actually decides to pull him out. Anyway, we're going to talk about Sorry, thank you for covering the chat. We're going to cover the last set of units. This is going to be... the next topic is going to be Jambavan, and this is going to be covered by Irby. Definitely did not write notes for this last second.
Right. Jambavan, the guy who got the skill evolution and that I totally knew I was going to review today. Okay. Jambavan has a pretty lengthy kit, which is kind of scary when you look at it, but it's not really that kind of thing, that much. Basically, he can now, with his skill evolution, can now bestow combo to allies outside of just himself whenever he hits someone, which is pretty nice. This is also guaranteeable combo, by the way. So that's pretty nice to have a refreshable combo bestowal to allies. With even though you want to move him, you can still use him without moving him, but it's still nice to have. Like the best choice for this at this rate and refreshable was like Beach Seth, which is terrible. Never use him anymore. so now he's a good alternative. He has a lot more to offer to a team than just combo and protection. No, he has a lot going on for him. Outside of the combo bestowal on hit that he got with his skill evolution, he now has access to concentration as well. To not only to just himself, but also to allies. So that's an additional attack buff for himself, and also some extra support to his allies, which is always pretty nice to have. He also gained a very questionable effect, a very questionable damage gem. Basically, he now applies a debuff on the whole board every phase start that gives enemies a chance to inflict break upon themselves at a 50% chance for four turns. Naturally, you can. This isn't very reliable, but since it's before being hit and it's an extra damage amp, it's always nice to have. Like it's not too detrimental. Detrimental is not the right word. It's not that underwhelming. It's still a damage amp. It's still there, and it can potentially even completely destabilize the board. This is pretty good. Okay, on to the next part, which is honestly probably the most important part that synergizes the best with this kit. He now has guts whenever he appears, which is something that he was definitely missing from his kit, that he definitely could have used since the very start. Since he only had tenacity and this very shaky curse infliction to nearby enemies. that wasn't even guaranteed to begin with. So having this additional countermeasure to prevent him from actually dying right from the get-go is pretty good. He also has some additional defense while he has concentration, which only lasts 10 turns, but it's still good enough. You don't need more than 10 turns for him because you will want him to be at 1 HP all the time anyways, because you want to exploit that limit and you want to use that CS that keeps refreshing his guts and he keeps charging himself with it. So what does this mean for Jambavan? This doesn't directly increase his charge rate because normally Jambavan is this unit that you're just kind of moving around the board and he's just generating a bunch of CP. You have to ensure that he hits enemies or he's going to lose all that CP he's been generating. And then he's just going to start spamming his CS and getting guts reapplied to himself on top of having limit that synergizes pretty well with it. He's not supposed to be the general board wiper that you'd want to use because he is intended to have downtime between his CS spamming so that he can get his Berserk Plus and also refill his CP a little better. So yeah, that is pretty nice. Starting with guts allows him to get CS spam, and which is main part of his role going. And the damage mitigation from concentration is pretty good. I'd say I'd consider Jambavan a pretty okay unit for the skill evolution, but now I say he's a pretty good unit, honestly. He's not super amazing, but he does have some pretty unique qualities, and I do like that he has a pretty unique playstyle that is usually lacking in a lot of units these days, that I kind of wish that they did focus more on.
What sort of playstyle?
But yeah, it's kind of like when you like usually when you have these CS spammers, you're just trying to get their CS spam as soon as possible and avoid them getting hit or something like that, or just CS spam with another unit, and they don't have a lot of support going on with them. But with Jambavan, he does have refreshable guts, which allows him to survive an additional turn for assuming here that he cleared the board with this not terrible damage. It's actually pretty high, with assuming you get his Berserk combo and concentration up. It's going to be pretty decent. And he also is going to reapply guts to himself to ensure he survives, and he keeps charging really fast without the need of any allies, which is pretty impressive. Usually you have like units like Krampus, who does also have a lot of regeneration, but he doesn't have a lot of supportive utility, and he's not really meant to be surviving the next turn after he CSs. He's just supposed to be because it doesn't have a lot of. I mean, Krampus, the new variant that he got.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be surviving the next turn so that he can do the same thing all over again and
True.
charge again. No,
we should just drop Krampus and use Jurong instead.
Or you can use both. You can just use Krampus CS on one turn, then Jurong CS on the other turn, and then it's very likely that Krampus CS will be available on the next turn. But Jambavan is pretty self-sufficient, is what I'd like to say, and that's pretty dope for a unit with an all-rage CS.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are all my thoughts.
I think he's kind of like. There's a few units that we talked about this. It's sort of like looking through the list, not Tsathoggua, but maybe a bit like Amatsumara, as well as Ikutoshi and Nobuharu. They're kind of like not jacks of all trades, but like jacks of most trades, and they're not shit at it like fucking Tianzin. And they don't do everything, but they do a lot of things, and they bring a lot of utility with them as well. So they're not the best in any particular thing either, but because they don't do everything, just a lot of things, they bring a lot of value for a single unit, and then I guess you can just bring specialists to cover whatever they are missing, which makes sense. We don't really have any do all units, just units that can blow everything up instantly or something like that, but have no defense. So you can squeeze in some units like that with Jambavan perfectly fine, or more defensive units. Either way, Jambavan has, because he covers so much, he just ends up being a good partner for most team comps, whether you're going for more offense or more defense. And, it's not just, being a general support unit for everything. He also has that very unique utility of combo, now being the best combo bestower that's refreshable, which it's like, I don't know why it's taking them for so long to release units like that. It's been ages, and
finally we killed Beach Seth. It only took 5 years.
Over. I mean, it's still gonna be a hassle because you need to hit someone with thrust range, but yeah, it's a start for sure.
I do like the addition of the before hitting combo, because combo has always been obnoxiously rare, and you had to like move Seth or Wakan, and it's like, that's a pain. But Jambavan can do it not only to himself but to allies, and only when hitting and at a decent rate. So that's nice. Use him with summer rolls or something. There you go. And then you can also break the entire board at a 75% rate, probably.
I mean, it synergizes technically the breaks coin flip with the combo. I can see what they're going for there. Still, doesn't really reduce how much it stings, but it's Jambavan gameplay. What do you expect?
I'm sure you don't mean stinks.
That too.
I think he's a pretty good unit at least.
Oh, I just realized Harvey's fucking footage of Jambavan, someone died. Ellie died. Rude.
What?
Ellie died in the footage.
That's deserved for whatever happened to Sphinx.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next topic.
What happened to the resolution?
I mean, I mentioned it before, but it's because this is the first batch where I actually used other people's footage. I figured Jambavan is actually a really, really shit unit to demonstrate from support slot, given the before hitting combo. And,
you could have 1 turn of combo.
Yeah.
You mean the second? Yeah, so I asked for footage, and plus, there was like a lot of people invested in Jambavan. I got footage from Harvey Kaiza as well as from Murasaki here to get both of these. But as a result, because their phone resolutions don't match with what I recorded with on my desktop, yeah, it looks like a video player.
Can you just upscale it and make it look like a 480p video?
Well, maybe, but I didn't have enough time to research it because it's like they're different resolutions, as you see. And also they have different crops from the left and right side. So even if it fits, it doesn't like fit, and I doubt there's a setting that lets you crop differentially depending on the video. That's fine. That's like hyper specific, so you'll just have to deal. Maybe I'll just process the video for next time, but whatever. Anyway, so we're gonna move on to the next topic. So this is going to be Kuniyoshi, which is going to be covered presumably by Zalgus, if my memory is correct.
Definitely not me.
It should be
shit.
Did he not prepare him? That sounds like someone didn't prepare for. Oh god. Zalgus, what are you doing? I didn't write notes for this or a lot of other these guys this event because I was preparing videos and Irby was making me translate his FCARI stuff last night. Irby, do you have notes for Kuniyoshi?
Not really, no.
Oh no! I mean, I
don't have Kuniyoshi. I don't have Kuniyoshi.
I
didn't have him. That's
like
like
the one time
only
I don't
unit.
take notes this happens. Like seriously, geez, he couldn't have
It's like
just
the only unit on top of Ryota.
actual ass. What is wrong? Okay, do you still want to wing this or should I, Zalgus?
Yeah, I can do it. Right.
Well,
yeah, sorry.
Okay, wait, how did you miss it, by the way? Like, seriously. The list is right there.
Is the list right there?
The best unit of the game.
Same reason how Kirby missed his unit, I guess, Jambavan.
Well, at least
Yeah. I don't know.
That's
I somehow missed it. I was like counting everyone. I was like 1, 2, 3, and I was like, yeah, everyone's got 3, right? But no, me and you have 4.
Yeah.
Everyone has 4
Right.
copies.
Yes. Does Abby have 4?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I do. Yes. Yeah.
When
Right. So when
basic
appearing
mastery feels
nullified buff to all enemies on the board, Kuniyoshi already had a kind of niche of preventing enemies from getting buffs. He had his reality escapee or snarling at reality skill evo that he was already able to inflict nullified buff fairly, no, I wouldn't say reliably, 60% is not reliable, and he could remove buffs. Nullified buff is this... I don't know why nullified buff is so rare. I feel like it still hardly ever appears. Like, who else even has it? Like,
Zhao.
Horikyo, Kamui,
yeah, I was gonna say Hot
whatever.
Springs Horikyo Kamui is the only one I can remember offhandedly.
Wings out. But yeah, he's one of the rare specialists. And there's also, more recently, Ulaanbaatar's Widow variant.
Who? Oh, right, him.
Ulaanbaatar.
I don't remember these new units too many. Yeah, but yeah, now he just automatically applies nullified buff, and also since it's when appearing, I imagine there could be some case where he could.
But now he guts right away. Yeah.
Yeah, he could. I wouldn't say break
I know.
a quest, but
I know a few situations where this could be useful as well.
I feel like there was some CQ where having. Like,
yeah, so
when
I'm facing the
appearing
Warmongers during Virtual Summer
broker.
Memory.
So yeah, that's a interesting niche. Just being able to instantly deny buffs could be useful. Face Star Ardor to self and allies all around. That's sure whatever. He had no team support in that respect, team damage support. So now it's 100%. It also means he can actually get Ardor on himself without having to get hit, which was always kind of dumb.
It was. The rate for that's also improved, which is nice.
Yeah. Fucking... I hate these Mecha Man rates, right? They also improved his protection to self and his Ardor rates from 60 to 80 and 60 to 90. So now they're actually usable rates instead of bloody Mecha Man rates. So... yeah, all around good buffs there. After buff weakness to enemies in a magic range. 9% rate is, of course, nice and guaranteeable. And he's magic range, and he will inflict weakness in that range as such. In fact, he could even inflict it as he's attacking since he has protection. There's a good chance he'll do that, actually. So, Kuniyoshi, as a damage dealer, he's actually pretty decent since his thing evo, his snarling at reality evo, the one that applies the non-buff weakening. There you go. So yeah, now he'll have Ardor, possibly weakness, or probably weakness, honestly, and also non-buff weakening. Why is it so hard to say that? So that would be like what, 2.5 times 2.3 times something else, 2.4. So yeah, that'll be pretty strong, and he'll hit pretty hard. So now he's a decent damage dealer, and of course as a debuff, it's a team damage support. You could, in theory, get him into inflict it on multiple zones of the map if you had like a turnstar or whatever buff that causes him to inflict magic range weakness where he's standing, and then you just move him and buff him on another column or something to apply weakness into a larger range, which is probably a niche usage, but it might find some use somewhere. Anyway, and his last ability, which is also a CP, or I guess a CS Evo kind of thing, although in this case it's after moving instead of when attacking. So
I mean, when attacking would never work. What the heck?
Oh yeah, I guess that would never work. Never mind then. Or it's not like turnstar or something like Nobuharu, so he has to make a different move besides just attempting to CS. But anyway, it it applies doubt to the entire board at a 100% rate. Doubt, of course, is a big damage debuff while they are not possessed, or a big damage buff while they are possessed. And since his CS inflicts possession, what he's going to do is he's going to make them all hit like a truck and probably demolish their own board if they hit anything. So it could be interesting. Unfortunately, you can't, like... Well, is there a way to get CS lock onto Kuniyoshi without... while he can still move, so without the...
Don't overthink it. Stop trying to... No one's going to do it, even if that existed.
It could be funny to apply doubt constantly.
No, there's no way to do it, to my knowledge. There's only the one AR, which is literally the only option to deny your charge normally. Which, requires you to move from another unit. Of course, Tin Low exists, but you also need to move him. And there's what's called Toji, but that would just prevent him from even getting 100 CP in the first place.
Damn. Well, maybe if we get a unit who can inflict darkness on our own units at some point. But yeah, you can either use it for enemies who cannot be possessed. You can use it for the massive damage reduction, or for those who can, you can use it for them to just wipe out their own board, basically. But yeah, just from this preliminary analysis, I'd say it's a decent Evo. They made his damage capabilities personally a lot higher, and now he has a lot of team damage buffing capabilities between Ardor to allies and also weakness. And then he even has defensive capabilities with applying doubt to the entire board, only if he's at 100% CS, which... He builds his CP decently fast since he has the CP on hit. So, again, unlike other units, I don't have to complain about their lack of CP. But, yeah, it's a decent Evo all in all. There's some niche uses for, like, Nullified buff too. But, all in all, you're probably just going to use it for the much bigger damage. I mean, if you use him at all. But, yes, I think it's fine. Pretty good. Better than Ikutoshi's.
He's okay. I don't have notes on him, but good job covering most of the topics. Irby, you should hop on first. You obviously have so much to say about him.
Obviously, I have everything to say about this unit. In fact, I have my notes right here about this unit that I never got. Yeah, he's definitely got some damage, alright. I do like the Nullify debuff to the whole board because of how scarce it is and how it was mentioned before. It is very useful, not only for certain challenges, but also certain missions. It can be useful to deny a few effects. But not only that, I find it funny that they added doubt to his CS. Goodbye, Isaac, forever. Never want to see you again.
Yeah, that was the reason why I was
just
excited
walk away
to get
from
Isaac. And then they released Oz, and now it's just...
Salgas.
Can you make that joke, Salgas? You didn't reach chapter 13 yet. That's actually worse than you think it is.
No.
Do you know Isaac Steele, Salgas?
I do not know.
You're just saying that because he can't
I'll
move in
find out one
battle,
day.
but okay, seriously, it's a lot worse what you just said you think.
He can't actually move, he's fucking dead. Okay, but...
Also, Kuniyoshi deals like 20k damage with his regular attack while he has Ardor, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, but I don't have a lot of thoughts. I did want to have this unit before when I was using Shiva strats, but it's over for him. There's just better options right now. It's just not worth it for the magic range. I do think that the fact that he can deal damage is nice. The Isaac meme is also nice, and the Nullify buff is more relevant than sometimes people consider.
I mean, it's...
And that's probably why Left Wonders has been stingy with it.
Yeah,
I think they're just stingy with it because it's not a flashy buff or anything,
well,
or a debuff.
it can actually deny some important things. Like if you remember the Virtual Summer Memory Quest, where like Talos had Ardor with Strengthening, which greatly increases defense. You just like deny that straight up, or deny Ardor from showing up in the first place with stuff like that. So just because of when appearing on the player side has priority over literally every other effect, and it's applied on the entire board, Kuniyoshi might be worth keeping permanently in your Amatsumara in case you want to counter a specific mechanic that shows up.
Rent-free Kuniyoshi.
Yeah, so there's a few units like that in this. I mentioned the Nazino was like that somewhere.
That's not the only case. It's also very, very useful for those pesky units that apply reflect debuff to themselves.
Yeah, that's so
So since you can't actually reflect it back at them,
just name drop
if your debuff
already.
gets what?
Just say Tiscali Poka.
Yes, it's not only him, but I'm not allowed to say the others.
That's probably low-key, given the challenge, but yeah, sure.
It's also in the fucking FKRE farm quest as well. Fucking Loki.
Yeah.
But yeah. Annoying. Might be useful there.
I like how you just end off that, but yeah, annoying. Alright. I think we talked about Kuniyoshi, so we can move on if there's nothing else. Are we going good?
Yeah.
Okay, the next stop is going to be... I'm still talking. It's going to be Ryota. I'm going to be talking about this dweeb. So, Ryota's evolution is one of the simpler ones. To start off, his rate for nourishment has been increased by 10%. Wow. I don't know why they didn't increase that atrocious 60% function rate when they could have. But yeah, he has gained some face artifacts where he has extended movement, or horizontal extended movement anyways, for one turn, as well as inflicts nourishment weakening on all the enemies that lasts for 10 turns, which reduces their damage, which pretty much just mostly cancels the effect of nourishment which he bestows himself to the enemy. It ends up being a multiplier of 0.9 times, but it's supposed to just cancel it. And he also gets crit on phase start at 90%. So he plays largely the same, but let me just read out his roles. Yeah, so he's an improved primary mover. You were always wanting to move him anyways with his different healing and damage mitigation effects with unction and nourishment and blessing and protection going off. And that overall would heal by 1200 HP per turn if he had unction and blessing and nourishment up. And his defense potential with protection and nourishment was a bit less than 0.2 times the original damage, so 0.19 times. And that means you can do a rough calculation, or a quick calculation, of how much damage the enemy needs to do at a base amount in order to overcome his healing and do more damage than you are healing. That amount is if you have unction and protection up and he has all his hots up. That'd be 7,000 damage per square. So he's decent if you want to think about like how much damage mobs do normally. It's usually around 5k or less. Only the more threatening ones you do, and even then he's still blocking most of it, which is nice. So he can out-heal most mob damage, which is fine. So he'd be fairly useful for things like the Aoyama dungeon. And his damage mitigation has slightly improved, of course, with that nourishment weakening thing. Besides that, he has improved damage dealing with his crit and his nourishment to himself and allies, as well as his nourishment advantage. His potential for damage isn't super amazing, but it's there. It's like 27,000 damage per square at burst range. So he has a few unchanged rolls. He builds his charge fairly quickly, and he resists debuffs like kind of okay. Not really. It's just Curse and Drain. He resists outright, and every time he charges, which he gets up decently fast, he removes the debuffs on himself. And for what reason, he has Drain inflicted on the enemy on charge, which fits literally nowhere else with his kit, but there it is. So what I'd recommend for this unit is he does not have much in the way of debuff mitigation other than his charge, so you may want to bring some that can actually prevent him from getting some nasty stuff that prevents him from moving, because this kid lives and dies by him moving. He might benefit from Hot Amp as well, since he does have quite a few Hots going off, so you can bring Gabriel's Panic variant or Ursulin's Scared of Falling variant. There's also, he could use some more defense, because, might as well stack on his existing strategy, and also that Unction's kind of a shit rate anyways at 60%. I don't know why it's 60% only.
Because they have a hard-on for 60% as of recent.
Okay, but you hate Mecha Man so bad. So bad.
Mecha Man bad!
Yes.
Mecha Man's a different story
right.
entirely than this, because that one's like before being hit. But yeah.
This is actually worse than Mecha Man.
Yeah, because it doesn't get multiple.
Yeah, because Mecha Man can proc multiple times, and this one only one time.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like they could have evolved it, but they didn't. It's stupid. And besides that, he doesn't do too much damage on his own, and since he's already doing so much defensive utility, you're gonna want to bring some damage-focused units with him to actually, get that nourishment to work. Amazing. But yeah, you need more damage dealers other than Ryota himself. That's all I have to say about these units. Fairly basic.
I don't even know what to say myself about this. Like, really, the only permanent part of this is the only part that lasts long enough to make a huge difference is the nourishment weakening, which, I guess is nice, but it's not that great a damage mitigation, especially considering that nourishment multiplies it slightly. So,
yeah, it's just 0.9 times, which is like what you get on those 3-star ARs at that point. Or specific times.
I think getting additional horizontal movement for the first turn of every phase can be alright, to be honest.
It's pretty important because as a defensive unit,
evident, but it's very good.
It's not. It's like the defensive units that constantly need to move should have that, because they're like, you want defense a lot in these larger maps if you're not board wiping, but for some reason defensive units tend to not have extended movement, and so they move very slowly to the other side, and as the other two units of their team just take a billion hits.
Dying, immediately
Yeah.
die, immediately dead. But
So
yeah,
necessary.
having this- Yeah. I have nothing else to say.
Oh, I interrupted you before you said it yourself. My bad.
Well,
Ryota's a boring unit. Yeah.
I didn't think he was a super bad unit to begin with, but I don't think this skill evolution changed a lot outside of that extended movement.
He's one of the most basic units gameplay-wise. He's like Snow, honestly, just without the CP charging for his allies. You just move him and you get defense and healing. That mostly hasn't changed even with this Evo. He just does a tiny bit more defense, but it's kind of whatever. Or tiny more
doesn't
defense.
Snow have a better range, like all around or something? Or
Yeah,
is it
he does.
adjacent?
He does have it all around.
He is a little round, yes.
He also has Berserk strengthening.
Odd
Oh
synergy.
no! Using it with the units with Berserk, who could possibly give that?
Okay, I think we...
Gandalva.
No. No. Okay,
It's not even the right Berserk, I'm pretty sure.
It's not. It's such a early shit implementation where they can affect both of them. Alright, we are going to be talking, or rather we are done talking about Ryota, and we're going to finally move on to the final topic, everyone's favorite unit, Hogen. So, everybody's going to talk about this unit now.
Okay.
Close it off.
Okay. Hogen has been probably one of the first actual good column clearing units, even before people started calling them column clears. So he's been running behind a lot of the recent column clears, so he finally got a skill evolution that really got him up to speed with everyone else after all these years. So basically, his ardor on move is now guaranteed. It was at 80%, which wasn't guaranteeable, but instead of them raising it to 90%, which is what one would expect with these skill evolutions, no, they increased it to 100%, so you don't even need to skill see him to get this ardor at 100%. He already had crit plus on phase start at 100% without skill sees as well. So these are 2 buffs that he gets completely for free at the start of each phase. Well, crit plus at least. Ardor is professional. But not only that, he also gets break as well. He applies break on move in snipe range in front of him, which is also 100%. All of these effects are 100%. All his damage amps for himself are 100%, which is pretty crazy to see in this day and age. So, there's a lot of 100% effects in this batch of skill evolutions, but the fact that Hogen got 2 on top of his already existing crit plus 100% is pretty surprising. This also means that he has almost 71k damage per square on the very first turn of each phase, guaranteed, without needing any seeds whatsoever, which is pretty good, honestly. You do have to move him though, unlike other column clears. Only stuff like Fushi can probably compare, and he's probably much higher.
He needs to move too, and
it's
he
close.
doesn't have extended movement. But yeah, Fushi does more. But
Then,
there is
yeah,
that caveat.
I was going to mention that now, that he does not have extended movement, and Hogen does have extended movement, which is very helpful for vertical farming quests. It's very important to ensure that you can reposition all your units in the places they're supposed to be on right from the get-go, and Hogen can guarantee that with his extended movement and his amazing first turn damage. But if that wasn't enough, he also now shows that an unfortunately not guaranteeable rate weakness on the columns left and right of him. This is also sniper range as well. This is 80%, which is close to being guaranteeable, but unfortunately it isn't. But it's still pretty good. So now he can actually provide some extra support to his other 2, assumingly, column clearers at each side of him by applying weakness to the enemies there. And he also got the stereotypical CS evolutions, charge skill evolutions, as so Ara's been calling it this entire stream. Whenever he gets 100 CP, he applies crit plus to himself and allies on long / range of him. So something I didn't mention yet is that Hogen does unfortunately have a CS that is not short range, it's actually long / range. So this means that if you build his CS too fast, he's not going to be able to do his job as a column clear for farming quests. But he doesn't have any methods to build his own CP, so that is very unlikely to happen unless something already goes wrong in your farm quests. This CS is also mostly for when you're trying to use him for challenge quests and other type of general content. It's also a pretty good CS to begin with. It bestows evasion to himself and allies, and also charges them on long /, which is a means of defense in case, which is what is also lacking in his entire kit if you're intending to use him for general purpose teams. So yeah, this is an alternative that you can possibly use him for. Another alternative is that since this crit plus also applies to allies, you can potentially choose to not CS with him at all and just bestow the crit plus to his allies on long /. And so long as he keeps his CP at 100%, at 100, he can give crit plus to your entire team forever and keep ferrying them around into position so to ensure that they're not hit by anything super dangerous. So that's also an alternative. This is a very case-by-case usage. It's not going to happen all the time. He's primarily going to be used to clear columns, that is. But yeah, I think this is a very good change. He already had some pretty neat tools in his kit, like this nullified debuff to prevent him from getting debuffed from on hit effects. And he also has bind, but even though it's not an amazing rate, it's still pretty alright. It's above Mecha Man, Salgas. It's fine. It's more 4% more than Mecha Man. It's not Mecha Man.
It's
so
a nice bonus for challenges. Maybe not for farming, but for challenges, it's nice to have.
For challenges, it might be good to be able to bind enemies as well and stop them from completely destroying your team and using all their million unique effects that only exist in Challenge Quest that have stopped existing for a while. But yeah, I think this is probably one of the better skill evolutions of the batch.
Glad you managed to get him, Ruby. Congrats again.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him for a long time.
He was like, not yet. You have to wait until I get my glow up. And then he got plastic surgery, and then he was balling after.
Yes, finally after the plastic surgery, I got him. But yeah.
It's a good Evo that makes a column clear harder, and also make his allies able to column clear. There's not much to say about it, honestly. It's just like a truckload of damage, and who can say no to that?
I'd say context is important here in terms of how good he is, because it's kind of easy to be like, oh, he's a column clear. But he really is only second to Hogen in terms of damage for column clearing. Third place is gonna be
second to Hogen.
Sorry, he's second to Fushi. But third place is fucking Ulaanbaatar after he moves with his break, and he does less than half the damage at 35,000 square. So Hogen's at like 71,000 per square. And Fushi is only a bit higher at like 97,000 per square, presuming he only has half his HP at his limit. So he's very, very, very close, and because he has other utility than Fushi, that's actually irrelevant, unlike Fushi's massive healing, which is, questionably useful. Fushi's bind and extended movement is just a lot more relevant, and I'd say it kind of balances each other out, and I think that, I had a high opinion of Gangstar Fushi that a lot of people, other people didn't. And I'd say Hogen is exactly up there with Fushi, and possibly even more relevant because he also has a bit of an adjacent utility to buffing or amplifying the damage of adjacent comms as well, in addition to his extended movement and his already ridiculous amount of personal damage. So he is a very, very good centerpiece unit for comp clearing, even if he doesn't offer any traditional utility that's reliable.
Something I forgot to mention as well is that he still applies to if you decide to move him behind your allies to bestow the crit plus, he still applies the break and weakness to the entire columns because it's snap range.
Like,
so he's still giving
what's the multiplier?
Everything damage him.
It's like at least 10 times damage, because crit is 5 times and break and weakness is like at least 2 times. So if he has 100 CP, he's like a Lianon for your entire team, which is kind of funny. So very good unit. Okay, I think we can close off the discussion then. Please read out the chat, Irby, and close it off.
No, where were we? Okay, is Jambles, you will always be famous. Is that it?
I don't know. We did start with Jambavan though, so if you can find the first Jambavan comment, that would be perfect.
I think it's this one. Yeah. You'll always no Njamba dupe for me. Still no Jamba.
Yeah.
Very sad face.
I pulled for Jambavan with 3 tickets, and instead I got 2 Kengo dupes, so that was an experience.
As in...
Wait. Kengo.
So what's your essay now?
41.
I mean, you have a higher limit multiplier on the CS now for your dungeon teams.
I kind of want Jambavan for that combo, but oh well, I guess it's not that important.
I'm sure new semester will have more combo bestowers, maybe.
Just like
or if
Valentine's
it
on
follows the
Summer.
same pattern, we'll have to wait 5 more years until that happens again.
Ouch. Possibly.
I actually got Jambos today, so I'm glad he's good. Congrats. Jambavan Nightmare equals Seth Beachside. No, I'm sorry, it's not equal. It's just
Yeah.
Seth is
over
forever.
He's gone forever.
Seth
What does Seth do
is
besides
gone.
even combo? He does like
got
fucking nothing.
obliterated.
He's like regeneration and protection. Who the fuck cares about that?
Protection and increased horizontal movement.
Who cares?
I mean,
That's
so does
like Jambavan
Jambavan
has that
have
too. Who cares?
increased
It's like,
horizontal movement?
and then he has protection and what was it? Nullify debuff or like who cares? Like Jambavan does
Nullify,
way.
I think Nullify buff to the person who he punches or something like that.
Jambavan does way more. Alright, who cares? Combo to everyone and including someone like Seth.
Why do you hate Seth so much?
Because I agree with Irby in terms of his existence has been well overstayed.
Also, his utility isn't really that good. In comparison to Jambavan.
I enjoyed the combo for what it was.
No, he doesn't even have combo on himself, and he's blow range, so he's like shitty choice if you're trying to hit someone 8 times in a row. He's like not really it when it came to looking for
It never
a way to one-shot
reach
the
everyone.
thing.
To also hit.
for warmongers.
Yeah.
So Jambavan has slightly better range and actually gets combo
Jambavan
himself.
can also reach it, but still.
I don't know, maybe you can do some
Disgusting.
all-range shittery to make it actually possible, but the important part is that everyone can get combo.
Yeah, he also doesn't need to move, so
And it's
better.
guaranteeable. You know, the worst part about Sats was, you're probably using him for constant spam, and when he fails, it's like, okay, sure, I'll just waste this turn.
it did get tiring, but when I thought I need combo, and all I could think was Seth. I'm so glad it's over.
Me too.
Thank you, Life Wonders, for this magnificent skill evolution. I do say it's impressive how much he has going, from support to potential offensive power to debuffing. He's kind of average in what he does, but for a single unit to do so much is impressive enough. Yeah, I think that's the case. He really is one overworked bear. I'm gonna comfort my best bear. I forgot relieved emoji. I'm pretty sure that's the relieved one.
Yeah.
Is it worth support a mix? Support with another one?
This was in reference to when I was talking about how Jambavan is like a jack of most trades, and he just would work well with a specialist of any kind that covers his gaps.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, usually these kind of units work pretty well with other units of its kind that don't kind of like have overlapping utility. Irby, I want the twink obliterated. It's over. That was before the skill evolution. He's already been obliterated. He's been incinerated completely. It's gone forever. Now I got a complete set of Jambavan. Smiling face. Ew, it's him. Worst character.
We've moved on to Kuniyoshi at this point.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's very evident by the change of
Fucking Care
tone.
Bear. He also posted like in my Kuniyoshi shorts and for my New Year's video, it's like, ew, Kuniyoshi, who put this thing here? Like, calm down,
understand
Care
it.
Bear, Jesus Christ.
Time to wing it. Good. We can just skip if we have no notes. Oh, poor Steph can't
Great
catch a
ego,
break.
just skip the section.
Were you going to say something, Salgas?
I was gonna say that I didn't even miss Kuniyoshi because I dislike him or anything. I'm fine with him. I literally just made a mistake and
Your
missed
mistake
it
has
in the
given
list.
fuel to the fire of the Kuniyoshi hate. How could you do this, Algus?
He's not that bad.
Well, yeah. I think it speaks a lot that Kuniyoshi got ignored. As he should be. I got a complete set of Kuniyoshi. His biggest use case is a warning sign advising players not to roll. Nauseated emoji. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce this tag. Gerber, I'm in this picture and I don't like it. I don't know which emoji is this, but... Covering face emoji. No, I for real just don't like him more than the furry allegations are. I do mess around about disliking him. Obviously, if you like him, then more power to you.
It's more
I'm
like
just planning on.
you just bring this Kuni hate out of nowhere. Then it's kind of funny.
I'm just planning on focusing furries because they're very attractive. Furry Ryota, best summoner. I'm more of a Kango fan myself, but Ryota is also pretty good. This refine is so crazy. I don't know what that means, but Jabber removed the message. Column clear that can double as support when possible. He was there before it was cool, asterisk.
Actually, now that I think about it, with Hogen, you know...
He was the first one.
No, I'm saying, now that I think about it, with Hogen, if you do quadruple column clears, which normally you wouldn't, but sometimes you have a supportive column clear like Kalki, then, you know, you don't have to worry about Hogen ever accidentally building his charge, because when he does, you can just move in the back and amplify the other
Yeah, you
three.
can just move in the back, and you just continue doing things as you go along. Like, you can even use... We have a lot of column clears that already provide some support already, so having him in the back and provide some support and then coming to the front can be pretty good.
So that opens a new type of team formation, which is pretty neat. Good for Hogen.
Yep. I'd be lying if I said I didn't still want Valen Kengo over Gramps here, but his skill evolution has made having him pretty worthwhile. Yeah, he's pretty good now. He was good at the time when he got released and then fell off, then
jumped right
but
back
now
up.
He's pretty good again.
Yeah.
Maybe F Hogen in my grab bag too. Also, this isn't at all efficient or worth doing, but Tashta can change LICS into short
Yeah,
range.
right, that is not worth doing.
Not worth doing at all. Doesn't help Hogan's CP issue, but yeah, he can do it. So yeah, useless fun fact. I mean, most of the time that's never going to be an issue. The only time he doesn't have any CP building capabilities. The only time he's ever going to build his CP is if you're
you have a CP
stalling
building
in a
team
very
anyways, but
long
yeah.
quest, or if you failed at column clearing. And if you're doing stall quests, then division might actually be useful, and the long slash range might also be useful. Hi, it's Easter. A million bunnies that I'm not going to count the number. So thanks to Jambles, Seth doesn't have a single good version of him anymore.
Poggers.
I mean, yeah, come to think about it, because that's true. Seth doesn't have any good cards. He has 4 of them, and none of them are good.
As it should be. See, that's where the Kuni hate should be placed in on Seth instead. As it should be.
Throwback to Seth being one of the only reliable defensive supports in the game. That was a long time ago. His base version.
And now we can just preemptively inflict percent skill lock instead of being hit with Seth. Just use Terramite instead.
More bunnies. Anyways. Show, you literally arrived at the end. I know. The Pope. Look out. All this beach set slender lol. He was really helpful in my beach Chernobyl comps back in the day. Yeah. It's just that the day is now. and now requires Jambavan instead. Kuniyoshi just reminds me of an ex. That's why I bully him. Yeah, I remember.
Oh, that's a very specific trauma. What the fuck is that trauma? Okay, sure. I didn't expect
Let's
that answer.
not push. Show many bunnies. Kuni is alright. What is this Kuni apologist era? Crying laugh emoji. No, Seth is a good boy. You can just use Bale now. It's over. Only Bale is usable still. You can use Summer Beamo to charge Hogan in a column clear team at least.
Yeah, we got footage of that right now from Irby. Thanks for providing this, Irby, in improper resolution.
Rude. Okay, Joe said bye twice, and that is the entire chat.
Very cool, Joe. Alright, that is it for the discussion. Thank you for joining, everyone who decided to stay this long for evolutions and not new units. You are the true ones that actually care about the game. I'm interested in seeing the results of this poll, and there's less people than I thought who would reach 909 million. Anyway, have fun with that if you're still trying it out. The word is just a pride and accomplishment in the end, after all. And break rights.
Remember that there is one ticket in those quests, so it's very important to log in to get that ticket before it runs out.
Yeah, what do you think
I
about
don't
the
know,
nerfing?
it's kind of hard. You might need to pop into the help channel to ask how to beat that first wall.
I mean, have you tried them yet, August?
Yes, I have. I've been doing it a bit on and off while we're doing this, and I think I've got a team comp that can reach 999 million. But
Finally, buff stacking that's not just skimping yourself with 3 stars, but instead using relevant high star units. Well, finally get to see it.
that's what you think.
Oh my god, don't say anything on 3 star.
I'll show you my team in a bit.
Ugh. Okay, sure.
I'm actually curious. To see
What do you
it.
mean?
It's what are you trying to reach 999
I'm
with 3 stars
guessing
only? What is
I'm
it?
guessing you're using. Are you using 3-star Mephistopheles?
There's
No,
no way
I'm
you're using that.
not. I'm not using 3 stars. Although I could use 3-star Mephistopheles because he's only useful for his thing. But no, it's more that I'm not using units who I would imagine are the usual suspects. That is to say, enthusiasts. Or, excuse me, half of my team is not the usual suspects.
Wow, rude. I use enthusiast and like, oh, I'm too cool for that. I see how it is.
That's right.
Okay. Well, it's still a lot of fun to be had for the rest of the day before it goes out, even though it costs stamina, but whatever. This is the most unique kind of battle we've had in like a very long time. Like, already more interesting than any of the challenges we've received over the past year so far. But what do you guys what did you guys think of this campaign and the new UI update and all these evos overall, and how do you feel about the coming content for your new semester, despite not much? And what do you think of the rest of the April Fool's content, of course, too, if you've seen that?
I think it's cool that the update broke a lot of the game. It's funny.
I saw a lot of people crying in my YouTube video chat or comments, and I just stared at them and pity. I was like, sorry, but works on my machine. So
Yeah, I was going to say works on his machine.
I mean, I didn't have the solution. What am I supposed to tell them, right? Like, I heard
Tell them the solution.
I mean, I heard it's resetting the language, but I
Yes.
heard it's like a differential kind of problem, so I don't know if that solves all of them.
But yeah, I think I'm not a big fan of the UI thing, mostly because I have to press an extra button, and that is too much for
Oh my
me.
god, Irby, it's fine.
That button ruins everything.
It's
But
pretty.
other than that, I
You
think
get to
it's
see your
pretty nice.
ARs that you pulled for your Dagon Triton one, except apparently you don't care about
I mean,
Dagon anymore.
as I use my free ARs instead, it's over.
Well,
But
shit
yeah.
ARs matter now for art. So, everyone's already seen mine on stream, but what did you guys pick for your art for the home screen?
I just picked the free FCAR AR because I like it a lot. Like the one with Orgus, Bacchus, and Soul together in the tavern. I like that art a lot.
It's pretty
Even though I
cursed.
pulled for a lot of ones
ahead.
that's still my favorite.
I just put up some of the characters I like Summer Tigray and Shino 5 and whatnot.
I'm s-
I
really
don't think I put any ARs up because I don't have any ARs that I super exceptionally like at least in terms of characters plus art. Like Shino has one AR. This is bullshit, and it's a outdated one.
I mean, Moritaka has a lot.
And yet it's still a decently useful one. Mori's ARs are like, I mean, he has some decent ones like the Hinami one with him and Agio, but I don't know. I want a cool AR.
Well, we got some cool
There's
arts during Oedo.
I guess there's a Kamui one. Which
Didn't-
That
is,
he used the Moritaka
Did you go for
Kamui
the ARs
one.
for Oedo? I mean, I saw you like Gongwei, so you could have gotten the Gongwei Ulan Butter one, which was 5-star.
I mean, he's fine, but I wouldn't say he's one of my favorites.
Damn. The trick.
This is an exclusive club in my head, sorry.
It's exclusive. I
Yeah.
understand all this.
I am
Very cool.
surprised by how popular the character choice is, given, the guild choice is kind of like the character choice, but with more options. And
I kind of wish that the guild allowed you to bring the frames as well.
Yeah,
Like,
I think so too. The frames
Technology isn't there.
they keep on removing it instantly. I don't know why they don't just save it. They could definitely improve the mic at this point, but now they have less incentive with this part already set up for the UI. But yeah, bugs aside and UI aside, I thought the Evos are overall a good step in terms of kit quality. They have historically been unpredictable with their quality. Like before, 2 years ago, they're generally mostly shit. Was one or two extremely busted ones that didn't make sense, like Shiva's. And then the previous year, they were all like extremely good, except for Mystic Christmas, which was funny. And I think now's a good balance for we're actually getting like the majority of the Evos are really good, but nothing game breaking for all the units involved, and they just give everyone Evos too, or well, most of everyone. So good step, I think, to improving the general kit quality, because they've been covering pretty much every event so far. Almost ominously, really, but that'll decide. Did you guys see the April Fool's videos and all that? All the Mukdai shorts with Ryota, and apparently you got to rest your head on, what's it called? Akashi's lap, which is something.
I did not care for any of those characters.
Also, Kirito has his own podcast for some reason. That was definitely an experience.
That was horrible. That DJ guy from the Hero is just...
What, the
I can't listen to him.
that Algernon guy?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I see the shorts now of... They're getting a lot of mileage out of the Mokdai and the Moritaka suits, aren't they?
I mean, as they should. It's free
I
publicity.
mean, they probably had to spend a lot to make them, so might as well.
I mean, they're cute, so sure. Yeah, I don't really care about the Liver Hero stuff too much, but I mean, the Mokdai and Moritaka is cute.
Yeah, I'd be down if they just started regularly making more of those Mukdai and Moritaka contents on shorts, just to increase publicity of the game, and also, you know, it's like therapeutic for the soul, seeing them being fucking stupid and badasses that fall on their mascot costumes.
They make good gifs.
They do, yeah. But yeah, surprisingly, despite this being a somewhat long campaign with pseudo content that's not real content, I think I was fairly well kept, not too bored. So maybe you guys disagree, but I thought it's fine. Okay.
It was okay.
I'll read up the chat, then we'll head out then. Where did we leave off? About Jerbear trauma dumping about his ex looking like Kuni, apparently. Kuni jumps here. Okay. Seth is a good boy, X to doubt. You can use Summer Behemoth, we already read that. Summer Behemoth's beloved. I do want to pull for him, so hope he reprints soon. A little late, sorry, a little is an exaggeration. Hey, hope you guys had a good day. Thank you. Read the chat. Thanks for the stream. Take care, everyone. Everyone's saying goodbye. It was fun. Thanks for all that. AR you're using is Babylon Searcher 3. Don't they have a few? Don't tell me it's the one where fucking Searcher looks like he's copy and pasted and Babylon looks like they came from some sort of on me. I don't know. It looks neat. Gangwei, Bador, AR. I wish I got that one. I was pulling for looks alone just for that set from Oedo, and I got everything except for the one I wanted most, but, you know, the Horus Otter one is still really gorgeous, even though I don't care about Otter at all, so I'm using that as my home guild screen right now. Using Fashionista walk on, should we do AR? Should we do it? Oh no, that one, the cursed one where he looks like the comic face. Yeah, it's okay, I guess. You'd use your guild, but set up you're horny, so you don't want to shit that. Oh yeah, there's a lot of horny stuff you could do with my guild. I set up some horny stuff before, but there's no way I'm doing that on fucking stream. But yeah, there's a lot of generic things you can do with a milk sticker. Character is Gomon, obviously. Your guild room is just Inaba. That is choice. Moritaka, Mukdai, best mascots. Haven't seen mascot vid, but seen the other two. Danzo Kirito in a vid. The other wasn't a thing you thought ever you'd seen. I'm surprised Kirito was taking a lead role. I probably heard some spoilers reading the chat or the translation, because he was talking like Christine, which was like, what connection does he have? And it's like, that's probably a chapter 14 thing. I'll pretend I didn't hear that. Anyway, yeah, that's it for our chat and our stream. Thanks for joining, everyone, and we will catch you next time, most likely when new semester drops, which presumably is just going to happen immediately after the next 24 hours.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, so we'll probably have a discussion the week after, so most likely, we'll see. There was also a new AR that dropped, but we'll just talk about it then. It's a very cool effect. Well, the effect is cool, not the boost. We'll talk about it later, so let's not get into it now. Okay. Thanks, everyone. On 3, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Bye-bye.
Bye.